Hi, welcome back to Telltale Books. I'm Greg, and this time I'm doing another segment in my H.G. Wells series, this time about the novel The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was one of 3 H.G. Wells books that I read when I first really got into reading. Before that, I only read when I had to for school. These books I sat down and read because I wanted to. And I love them. They changed my life. They were The Time Machine, The Invisible Man, and The War of the Worlds. So, in recent years, I've been rereading or reading for the first time everything I can find by H.G. Wells in chronological order. There's only a couple things I haven't been able to track down and I've had to skip over. But for the most part, I've been successful. And so I reread The Invisible Man a couple of years ago and loved it. But that was before Telltale existed, so I didn't do a video at that time. So now I'm doing the video to correct that and get that part of my H.G. Wells series here. The Invisible Man was published in 1897. It was Wells' 5th novel after The Time Machine, The Wonderful Visit, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and The Wheels of Chance. So 2 science fiction, 1 fantasy and 1 kind of social comedy. And then he wrote The Invisible Man, which you can describe as science fiction, you can describe it as horror. It is a uniquely Wells story in that the science isn't real science. It's just a vehicle for Wells to be able to make a point about society, and in this case about a particular element of society, the criminal element. Okay, if you remember, 1897 came after Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper did his killings from 1888 to 1891. H.H. Holmes in America was around the time of the Columbian Exposition in, I believe, 1892. And at that time, you also had the first city gangs developed in big cities like New York. And these were all, people that were out of the public eye. The results of their atrocities were public, but nobody ever really for sure tracked down who Jack the Ripper was. And the gangs, while they would catch individual members, they could never catch the whole gang and shut it down because they were underneath society. They were out of the public eye. They were essentially invisible in their activities, in the way they presented themselves. Somebody probably walked down the street next to Jack the Ripper and never even knew it. And it was Jack the Ripper. Maybe they even shook hands with him or said good morning to him and had no clue that this guy was cutting up women the way he was. The criminal element was invisible. They kept their criminal activities very guarded, out of the public eye as much as they possibly could, and yet still pursue their criminal activities. They were invisible men. I believe this is what H.G. Wells is getting at in The Invisible Man. Because, of course, the science is crap. There is no invisibility formula that chemicals can be mixed to produce. That was just a vehicle for a story to make his point. And in the story, the main character Griffin, who becomes the Invisible Man, before he ever even became invisible, he stole from his father, which led to his father committing suicide. And it says in the book that Griffin really didn't feel any remorse about causing his father's death. He was a criminal before he became invisible. Invisibility gave him power, or so he thought, so he perceived. It gave him the power to do his acts without being caught, without being seen, without being apprehended and tried. And so he was able to go on a rampage, and he developed megalomania, having visions of taking over and ruling the world because nobody could stop the Invisible Man. In the end, of course, he dies, but Wells makes his point. So the criminal element is the invisible men. They operate underneath the rest of us all. We don't even know who they are. It could be your neighbor. It could be the guy down the street. It could be the guy out there walking his dog. He might have a crack house. There was a whole street in Kenosha when I lived there that you just didn't drive down because you were told that it was all drug houses. Drug deals and gangs and shootings, and you just stayed out of that road. You drive past it and look down it, the houses weren't nice, but they were pretty much the same as all the rest of the houses in that area. The only thing that made it different is the things that were going on inside or downstairs that you didn't see. You just stayed out of the neighborhood. And you never even knew about it until you saw in the newspaper that the cops had to go there and deal with a shooting or whatever else, arrest somebody, bust a drug house. Otherwise, you didn't even know that this was going on. It was invisible. The Invisible Man is one of the great books. Don't confuse it with the Ralph Ellison book. I've never read that one. That's probably a great book also. If you Google The Invisible Man without putting H.G. Wells with it, you're going to get a lot of stuff about Ralph Ellison's novel. Wells's Invisible Man has always been available. It's currently public domain, which means you can download it for free from Project Gutenberg. You can get it for 99 cents on Kindle and Apple Books. You can find a variety of other ebooks and paperbacks and even some hardcover copies. I've got my Works of H.G. Wells book that I've been reading from. This is a hard copy collection of 5 of his most famous. I've got one more to read from this, The Food of the Gods. That's coming up. That's one of my favorites also. You can get copies of this book very easily and for very little money, or you can spend a lot of money. Suntop released a very expensive volume of The Invisible Man earlier last year. Easton Press, I believe, has done The Invisible Man. Folio Society has done a volume of a number of Wells novels that includes Invisible Man. It's all over the place. It's very easy to come by. And it's a short book, an easy read. Wells, in his novels, typically wrote in a very straightforward style that is not the over-elaborated English that a lot of other authors of his day were writing. Wells kept his writing much simpler and direct. It wasn't dumbed down. It just was more direct. It was just more plain English. It was just to the point. And that makes his novels seem very modern, because that's what authors do today, in most cases. And it also makes Wells easy to read and quick to read. But take your time and savor it. This is a great book. It's worth stretching out a little and really enjoying it. I'll leave it at that. Read it or don't, but like and subscribe to us. So come back and join us on Facebook, on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram for when we're posting videos, what videos are coming up. I always post something there for what's next. And we have a website, telltalebooks.com. I'm keeping that up to date, although there isn't a link to the video until the video goes live. Invisible Man is in our listing on our website of the greatest stories ever. It includes books, it includes short stories, it includes poetry, it includes nonfiction. Any work that Emily and I together agree is just amazing goes on that list. There's a lot that's not on that list. We're adding to it as quickly as we can read them. So check back often to see what's updated on that list. And talk to us. We have a discussion group on our Facebook page. You can post on the Telltale Facebook discussion group, whatever you want. I mean, if it's nasty, we'll probably delete you, but otherwise, whatever you want to talk about regarding books, what you're reading today, what you thought about it, what you thought of our video, what you like about things, books you're hoping for, video reviews you want to see us do in the future, post it there. Let us know. Tell us. We'll listen. I've got one of those coming up. I'm moving The War in the Air by H.G. Wells up out of order, out of chronological order, because I got a request for it. We're also trying to find time and copies of Jurassic Park because somebody requested that. So there's 2 already. We're going to have those videos done. We're just a little slow at it because we both got to get together and do it, and we have so much else that we have ahead of it already scheduled that we're playing catch up now. So stay tuned and give us your ideas, and we will be back. We'll see you next time. Bye.